You know, we heard all about the big budget ideas from Governor Little in his address yesterday, but now it's, well, time to get to work. Little's budget director was ready to present the ideas that his boss put forth, dollar amounts that go along with it. And he did that today in Idaho's budgeting committee. Joe Paris takes a look at some of the top items and how the overall budget kind of shapes up.
Big ideas from Governor Brad Little in his budget address, but let's look at some of the line items. State Budget Director Alex Adams was in front of Idaho's budgeting committee bright and early, and with him, a binder full of ideas and direction for Idaho's budget from the governor's office. But all of it comes with a key caveat.
The governor's recommendations should be viewed as recommendations, hopefully strong recommendations, but that's just that.
So with that in mind, let's take a look at all the numbers behind Little's ideas. First, the budget proposes about $5.3 billion in total expenditures, or spending. And with all factors involved, including budget transfers, the estimated ending budget balance would be about $265 million. So the equation of budgeting also factors in general fund revenue, ways that the state of Idaho gets money to spend. And projecting all of that has options, as Adams explains.
There's kind of an asymmetric risk to budgeting. You guess a high revenue number and it comes in low, you're doing mid-year adjustments, holdbacks, furloughs, cuts, things like that. You guess low and revenue comes in high, you have a surplus coming into the next year, and based on House Bill 292, there's a surplus eliminator.
Per a law passed in 2023, that surplus eliminator means that any extra money in the state budget at the end of the fiscal year, it would be returned to Idahoans in the form of additional property tax relief. So something to keep in mind as we track budget decisions and as lawmakers weigh what forecast they want to go with. Some takeaway items: $25 million for the construction of a secure 26-bed mental health facility to care for patients determined to be dangerously mentally ill. $9 million to double funding for college and career advisors, and the idea is to better prepare Idaho students for success in the workforce. $75 million to fully fund Idaho Launch, and this is to make sure that grants are awarded for up to 10,000 Idaho graduates. And Adams says that interest in the program is a major factor, with more than 12,500 applications submitted or started just through the month of December. $6.6 million in funding is outlined for the response to invasive quagga mussels, and the money is needed for ongoing prevention and monitoring of the invasive species. $4.6 million in the public safety arena made available for ongoing public safety items. So in the chance of an economic downturn, Idaho State Police troopers are fully funded for vehicles, body armor, and gear. And the major headline item out of the state of the state, a proposal to increase funding by $200 million annually, $2 billion over the next 10 years, to make sure that all school districts have the resources they need to fix up buildings.
This is going to require a policy bill, and the governor's been in and around the body since the 1970s when he interned in this very room in JFAC and calculated by hand fund shifts. He knows the way to be successful in this building is to work with the legislature.
With everything said, Adams set the table for negotiations between the executive and the legislative branches.
Anything in this budget is something that can be changed by the legislature, and we're happy to work with you on those things.
So as we go into budgeting season, Alex Adams actually had two pretty interesting notes. He has the headwinds and the tailwinds, the headwinds being the things that are against Idaho, the tailwinds that are pushing Idaho along. So in terms of headwinds, Adams says that this year there's no budget surplus like we'd seen over the last several years. And at this point, Idaho has fully funded those federal ARPA dollars. So for the last several years, Idaho's budget had a lot of extra money because of federal COVID dollars. In terms of the tailwinds, Adams says today that there's lower non-discretionary spending and the growth and the structural budget is all balanced. And Brian, that's something that Adams was really talking about in terms of the budget, making sure it's balanced. There are other states, and he admitted other Republican states, that they thought they're going to grow out of their deficits or grow out of their budgeting. And now states like California that had a lot of money in their coffers, they're now in a deficit, and that's something that Idaho wants to avoid. So when you hear about a conservative budget from the governor's office, that's what they mean, being really focused.
Today was just the introduction, and then they're just going to pick it apart as we get through this session.
Yes,
correct?
And actually, JFAC is going to operate differently this year than in years past. So I think tomorrow we're going to jump in with the co-chair of JFAC, Wendy Horman, to talk about the new processes.
All right. Thanks, Joe.